Welcome back to TandL Talks, the podcast for, about, and featuring fabulous educators. On TandL Talks, we highlight the powerful work happening each day in our classrooms and elevate the voices of the educators who make learning meaningful, joyful, and unforgettable. Today, we're traveling to Firgrove Elementary to talk with the second grade team. 5 teachers who have taken their CKLA Ancient Greek Civilizations and Greek Myths units and transformed them into a hands-on, minds-on, high-energy experience known as the Greek Olympics. You'll hear how they build excitement, create belonging, collaborate as a team, and design learning moments students will remember for years. From laurel wreaths and long jumps to taste testing feta and cheering on classmates, these teachers show what happens when content, creativity, and community come together. Let's dive into the magic that happens when we bring learning to life. Good morning. I am here today with the second grade team from Firgrove Elementary. And I invited them here because they did a really exciting thing with their students last week. And I just invited them to tell us a little bit about it. So first, just tell us who you are.
I'm Taylor Cormier, and I've been teaching for about 4 years now.
I'm Marissa Stafford, and I've been teaching for about 6 years.
I'm Katie Ramirez, and I've been teaching for 5 years.
Robin Eisenbacher, and I've been teaching second grade for 12 years.
I'm Kayla Stokes, and I've been teaching for 15 years.
Great. Thank you all for being here in the TandL Clubhouse this morning. I like to start by asking people to tell me about a teacher who had an influence on you, either when you were a kid or as an adult.
In junior high, I went to Blue, and I had Erath and Yoder, and they were just so fun. They made class so entertaining and so just excited to be there, and they made everybody want to come to school.
Love it.
In the 3rd grade, I had Mr. Gray, and he really helped me with reading. I struggled with reading in school and had a learning disability, so he made me feel like I belonged in his class.
I went to school in West Valley, which is Yakima. I grew up in Yakima, Washington, and my favorite teacher that made the most impact on me was my resource teacher in elementary school. It's hard to believe that some teachers had an IEP growing up, and I was one of those kids that had an IEP, and reading was really challenging for me as well as math. And I remember my resource teacher making me believe I was capable. And by the time I got into 4th grade, I had ended that school year graduating from my IEP, and I thank that teacher so much, and she's the one that inspired me to become a teacher.
I've had a lot of great teachers I actually met all through. And one that stands out to me, though, is my 6th grade teacher, Mr. Ari at Fruitland. And he made learning in school so fun. My teammates know that one of my secret talents is juggling. And it all started in 6th grade with Mr. Ari. He had a juggling club that he just came up with, and kids could earn their way onto the wall and graduate different levels. And that was just one thing that he did to keep kids engaged in the classroom and in learning and give them some skills that he could help support with, as well as he had a lot of things that he made fun that were curriculum based, where we were studying different countries, and he had a classroom economy where we would exchange money. Like we would go from pesos to yen, and we'd have to figure out how to exchange that, and that was our new incentive for the month. And then every month we'd have an auction at the end of the month. So he just made learning so fun, and that was something that really stood out to me.
All right. As I was thinking about this, I think I've realized where I got all my crazy ideas from. But my 5th grade teacher's name was Miss Libby, and she was also my neighbor. I babysat for her also, but she would make all of our learning come to life. We learned about inventors in 5th grade, and then she had us create our own invention. So I vividly remember like going home and building this elaborate dog toy flinger with my dad. But this was before the Chuck It. Or when we were learning about the Civil War, she would bring in her piano. She would bring a piano in, and she would teach us the songs, and she would play the songs during class. So she just brought everything to life for us out of the textbook or like off of paper. So very memorable.
Are you saying you invented the Chuck It before it was?
I did. I did patent it though.
Darn it.
Darn it.
I love when people share these stories because it's just that reminder that what we do matters. Educators matter so much, and we really do change lives. Even when we don't know we're doing that, we're changing lives. So thank you for sharing your stories. So I want to talk a little bit about your Greek Olympics event. It was tied to CKLA, Ancient Greek Civilization Unit. And just tell us a little bit about the Olympics event that you did.
I'm going to go first. So we kind of use it to wrap up both ancient Greek civilizations and Greek myths. But our main event, when they come in during the day or come in the morning, they make their own laurel wreath crown. And we make togas out of trash bags, which is it's super cute. And then we go out, and this year, sometimes we do it in the gym. This year we did it around the track. And they have a foot race. They have, what did we do?
Horse race.
The horse race. We use a hockey stick as the horse. The shot put, the javelin. Long jump. And then that's the Olympics part. And then the next.
Do the Olympics for a certain amount of time, and then we do Greek food taste testing as a group, and we go into our cafeteria commons area, and they get to try some Greek food. So we do pita bread and feta cheese and olives and some pomegranate juice, and they have to tell us if they do a taste testing sheet, and we kind of see if they like these foods or they don't like these foods. And it's a new experience for most of them. Most of those foods are thing that they wouldn't try normally, probably by choice, but they're pretty open to at least sniffing it and giving it a little test. Yeah.
And that paper they can also bring home. It's kind of a communication bridge with families, so we can show families, hey, your child tried these foods today and they're interested in trying similar foods or eating this again. In fact, a couple of years ago, a student in Halo Stokes' class, he said to his mom that day, he's like, I need more pita bread in my life. Please go buy me more. So it's really fun to see.
I love that. As you planned this culminating experience, what learning goals did you have for your students?
One thing that, it's one thing you were just talking about, your teacher, and how like to talk about the Olympics, to talk about what they are. Kids have maybe seen some Olympic events on TV current day, but for them to experience some kind of a organized sporting event, not all kids get to do that. And then they kind of get an idea of what it might have been like. I mean, very small scale, obviously.
Right.
But them understanding what it means to like have a game. We try to make it very official with, we all dress up and we make announcements and we do all the things that help them kind of see what it might have been like.
During the unit, they learned that the Olympics started to honor Zeus. And so we can kind of have conversations around that. And then we were talking about this year with the Winter Olympics, we were able to tie all of that together. But I think the biggest thing our celebration does is it gets the kids excited about content that they might not be excited about typically.
Right.
So they know that we're doing this, and we tell them along the way, when we're done learning about the ancient Greek civilization and the Greek myths, we get to do the Greek Olympics. And so they don't actually know what that is when we're telling them, but they're so excited to find out that they're invested in the lessons. And so we get a little bit more buy-in throughout the whole unit which I think is helpful.
I think it just makes them excited to learn about it too, because they'll have something to look forward to.
Right.
It's really become a tradition too, because younger siblings hear about it, and it's almost like it's expected now that second grade does this every year. And younger sisters and younger brothers are saying, "Hey, I get to do that next year or the year after," and they're setting that.
And as we add new things to, I have past students that have come to me and be like, "Hey, we didn't get to do that." That like what new event we added or something.
Right.
And it's like, well, we're learning too. And as we develop our systems, things change. So they feel like.
The first year we did, I think we all started and we all brought a white sheet and we made our own togas. Now we have official togas that the teachers wear, and they have their trash bag toga. And I think we've gotten, this is off topic of the question, but I think we've gotten more organized in that manner too, where like we are just like, that's the job you always do, and that's the job you always do. And we get parents like to come in during that time. So it also, like Katie was saying, builds that bridge. But our celebrations are when we get our most volunteers and the most, family buy-in. So we had parents in there prior to cutting the bottoms off of the trash bags for the togas, and while we're out, doing the Olympics there, and now we have parents who have done it before, so they're like, "Oh, I remember how to do this." So they're in there prepping our food. So we literally do the Olympics outside, and then we come in and the food's already served for them. So
I have a parent who I had the student's brother 2 years ago, and I have his brother this year, and she came to volunteer this year. She was just so excited to see what we do because she didn't come last time. So now she knows like what we used to do and now what we currently do. And I think it just makes it very like comforting for them that they get to have like fun at school.
Yeah, I also had a parent that I had her son, and then now I have her daughter, and she volunteered at both, and she like saw the changes that we made in our events and was like impressed with how we're changing things and making it like better year after year. So
Right.
One thing I wanted to just pop in my head about just around the event and getting parents involved. Another part that has become a nice piece, an extra piece almost in a way, is Firgrove has a big population from our support center.
Right.
And we all have support center students that come to us daily. Some of them stay most of the day. Some of them stay for an hour here, an hour there. And this is a nice entry point for them to be with their peers in a very equal playing field. And so you wouldn't know the difference out there. We had, I don't know how many of our shared students were out there with us, but at least 5 were out there doing just what the rest of the kids were doing alongside them, just as excited and engaged.
Right.
So that was a nice extra piece to doing those celebrations.
those teachers also come support during that time too. And like our teachers and our pairs from the resource room came to support too. So it's nice to have everybody involved.
Yeah. I love that connection. First of all, that you have to hype it up during the unit, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be so great. They don't really know what you're talking about, but yay. I think that speaks to the importance of the teacher's enthusiasm in the classroom, right? You probably have not been super interested in Greek mythology, but now you are, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing I think about is that experience and the importance of that experience. And we know that CKLA is so rich in knowledge. And we also know that helps reading comprehension when kids have background knowledge, when they have something to connect the learning to. And I think you found a really good way to bring that to life for kids more than just in the classroom during the unit. So how does your team, you talked a little bit about this, but how do you collaborate when you design experiences like this? And what parts of the process might transfer to future units?
Well, we do some kind of celebration every unit.
Okay.
So we usually, it might be small or it might be big. The Greek Olympics, I would say, is probably the biggest one.
Yeah. Excuse me. I think to begin with, we started these all the first year we started CKLA, and I think a lot of our ideas really came from Facebook or like slightly Facebook inspired from the CKLA group. And we just, during our team meetings, we'll talk about the date that it's going to be. So we're all staying on pacing and who's going to take which responsibility, who might have volunteers, because that varies by year, who can prep the items. But I would say that the celebrations, we do something every unit. The two Greek we combine, but we start off with the fairy tales and tall tales. And on that one, we do a rotation for our classrooms. So the kids stay with their class group and each teacher picks something to do. So I do the royal ball and they make crowns. And
They come to me and I have a fishing. I'm the magic fish. And so they get to go fishing and do a fish cliff when they're in there, and excellent costume. Yeah. So they get to come to me and do that. And then
My group normally, for that celebration, they do the Paul Bunyan direct draw. And so in the picture, he's a little bit larger than life. So it's kind of from, if you were looking up at Paul, he would look really tall.
And we do like the STEM bin challenges. So we use different materials to build like architecture from the stories.
And then I do a fairy tale and tall tale trivia game show experience.
so we start at the first unit just with celebrations, and that one's a nice,
we have
they're
flapjacks.
yeah, and then they have flapjacks and fairy tale themed snacks.
And that one, our title and lap team almost always helps support during that time. They come in and join in the fun. But for like our ancient Asian civilizations, we do the Chinese New Year parade. So the kids make masks, and Katie and Robin always get drums, and
So we can go through the office.
we go through the office. And this year we did a rice tasting and
Fortune cookie.
fortune cookies. I don't know why I couldn't
Yeah,
say fortune
and we
cookies.
do the little red envelopes.
And the red envelopes.
Yeah.
Because they talk about the culture. Yeah, with the coins. Hawk tickets are what kids earn, so we put hawk tickets because normally there's money.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Oh, we just started War of 1812.
Yeah.
Which we're all excited about.
Yeah.
That one's fun because in past years, we, in our own classrooms, we built the USS Constitution out of tinfoil. And
Old
then we
iron
used
sides.
the black marbles from our science kits to see how many cannonballs they could fit on the ship. How many cannonballs can the ship carry? And they take a virtual tour of the White House. And so there's something fun in every unit. You just have to bring it to life.
And then like cycles of nature, we get like butterflies, and we do all sorts of things for cycles of nature.
We are skipping over the best unit, though. Westward Expansion.
Oh, yes.
I think Westward Expansion is probably our biggest. We found on the Oregon State website, you can still play Oregon Trail. So they get to play that. And then we have a grade level Oregon Trail game that Katie had found in the hallway. So it's like involves dice and cards. And then it's the first class to make it to Oregon City wins. And we end the unit by going to the Meeker Mansion, which does an amazing job of creating a simulation like you're on the Oregon Trail. So they take us through the different rooms. There's activities. Kids die of dysentery if you pull the wrong card, which is their favorite.
Yeah.
But the kids get like a little wagon. And the first activity is they have to decide what would they take in the wagon. So they have like a wagon and then a bucket of items. So what would be the most important things to take with them? But it was funny because I was telling them like 2 weeks ago, I had some third graders come in and say, have you guys learned about the Trail of Tears yet? And I'm like, no, not yet. But it's funny because I feel like the activities that we're doing that bring it to life are what stick with them. And that's what they're remembering. So
For sure.
definitely feels
We also
good.
make a quilt.
Oh, yes, we make a paper. With the,
Vocab.
it's pulled from the CKLA knowledge book. It has like the squares, but incorporate vocab and pictures and using the vocabulary.
And then they get to present we invite like the first grade teams to walk through, and the kids have to kind of present their quilt and explain different squares to them. And we kind of use it as a way to like evaluate speaking as well, speaking and listening. So
I'm hearing some things too as you're talking, all of these great fun activities, but tied back to the day-to-day learning. So we're evaluating during that time. I heard you talk about pacing, keeping in mind that pacing, and how do we make sure that we're sticking with the pacing so we don't fall behind, but it's still possible to put in these celebration events.
It's worth the time and effort, I will say.
Which students seem most excited during these events?
All students.
Yeah.
I haven't met a child that isn't excited to celebrate their learning at the end of these units and within.
They all have excitement, but especially the ones that like value those hands-on learning experiences, and the ones that like that's their mode of learning. That's how they show, what they've learned.
Squirrely ones.
Yeah, the squirrely ones.
Especially Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
They
Oh, yes.
That was where they shined.
So I wonder, I was talking to a teacher recently who was talking about with those hands-on activities, kids who struggle with behavior are often your kids who stand out, and those behavior problems sort of dissipate in the hands-on activity. Is that your experience too?
Yeah, they're most engaged and motivated to be part of the learning and part of supporting peers even. You see them
Right.
being leaders. They get a chance to lead, and it's kind of nice to see that happen for them.
Yeah, like I had a couple of students that were upset about the long jump for whatever reason and were crying during that event. And then I had a boy in my class who sometimes struggles with like shouting out, but he really came to and like helped his peers feel more comfortable. So
I also think during some of these times, our students who are struggling with reading and writing, but they're strong with comprehension, is a great time for them to shine, because you're taking out the barrier of the pencil and the paper, and they're able to speak, or they're able to, our quilts. There is writing when it comes to the vocabulary word, but they get to illustrate the vocabulary, and they get to share orally their knowledge. And I think that gives them such a sense of belonging and purpose to see, like, I can participate in these lessons and I can be a part of the group, when so often they feel like they are not able to do what their peers are able to do.
Yeah, I think it helps with their confidence too. Like they actually feel like,
Yeah.
With this last Olympics, were there any memorable moments where you saw students make a connection between their prior learning and the activities?
well, we read about like the marathon, and one of my students was like, well, where's the marathon event? Where's that? It's missing from our Olympics. So that was like interesting to see them make that connection of like that event is not, we read about it, but we're not actually doing that event. So
And when we go, so one of the vocabulary words throughout the unit is spectators. So we talk about what a spectator is and what your job is as a spectator. So Robin usually is our announcer for the Olympics. So when she sets the expectations, we're able to incorporate vocabulary words like that. And the kids can kind of imagine themselves as the spectators and then the participants. So tying that into the celebration.
Which also speaks to SEL skills. How do you be a respectful spectator? That is super applicable in a million different settings as they get older.
To tag on to what you just said, something that's extremely important about all of our celebrations is the setting of expectations. Because Robin's usually our spokesperson when it comes to that, but
I have the loudest voice.
but we're very clear with them before we start. So we come out and we have a grade level meeting about what it's going to look like while you rotate through the games. And then we go in and we sit down for the food, and we share with them what are the actually I think we went before we went in to sit down. We shared with them, each class sits at their own table. What is it going to look like when you're eating your food? What is it going to look like when you're done with your food? And we do something like that for all of the celebrations, and I think that's really important.
Important to make those kind of events successful, is just thinking about all those little pieces, because that's where it could go wrong, right? Because you're dealing with kids and they're impulsive and they're kids, and that would
excited.
and they're excited, and that would be expected for them to want to like run across and see if their friend has extra olives that they could eat, and them knowing that's not expected behavior,
Right.
helps them be successful through that and prevents those things that could go wrong, right? there's a saying, I can't remember if you know what? I think it was Anita Archer. It was one of her things that I attended. And she said, if you expect it, pre-correct it. And so just thinking about all the things you would do if you were a squirrely second grade boy and then telling them ahead of time, we're not going to do that is really important just to make sure it's going to stay successful.
Right. How did this event allow students with different strengths, like physical strength, social, academic, to shine?
I have some really high energetic boys in my class, and during the Olympics, they just got to show what they can do. They love sports and they love competing, so that was really a shine through moment for them. They had a lot of fun.
I have some struggling readers in my class, and like Kayla was saying, it was a moment for them to verbally share some of the comprehension pieces from those read alouds and kind of bring their learning to life and show physically what they remember from those stories. And so I think for them, it's very memorable.
It really lets those like social emotional skills also shine. Like if they're someone struggling, they can help each other and they can show collaboration. So a lot of my kids showed their social emotional skills in that way.
Which I love that because it speaks to the community that you've built in your classrooms, right? You've established that collaboration and it gives them an opportunity to show it. But like we've talked about, that doesn't just happen on that. That happens starting with day one of school and all of the stuff that you put in place.
And I think, too, it speaks to the community that we build as a team. We could not do this if someone in our team was not all in or if someone else wasn't willing to collaborate. But because our team works so well together, we're very cohesive. We're great at collaborating. We're great at communicating. And so because of those collaboration skills and focus on that really helps our students in the end.
How did this experience support your team's goals around intellectual engagement, belonging, or collaboration? We just spoke about collaboration.
I was just thinking about one of my little guys who school's just hard for him. Everything feels hard. Reading, writing, math, it's all hard. But physically, he's very athletic. He's always on the go, running, and it's fun to see him get excited because most things feel defeating to him. So for him to be out there with the hockey stick as the horse race and he's in front of everyone, it's just fun to see those kids get to shine in that moment and see, it just gives everyone the opportunity to see that everyone has different strengths and that together we are a community and it's important to allow everyone to have their own strengths to shine. And I think that these types of experiences allow for that. In addition to that, it's fun to see the kids cheering for their classmates while they're participating in the Olympic event. So while everyone is back, it's like we let 5 kids go at a time, so the rest of the class is cheering for them. So that's cool to see them build that kind of relationship together too.
It does build this sense of belonging because it's like this collective experience that we've built. And so all those kids have that experience that ties them together.
So if there's another team, second grade or otherwise, out there listening to this podcast who would like to do a culminating event like this, what advice would you give them?
Just do it.
Yeah, right. It's not as hard or as big as it might be in your head. I would just encourage anybody just to go for it because the kids are going to appreciate anything you do.
Right.
And if you are nervous about doing it, start small and, go from there.
It's all about the memories. You want them to be able to remember school. And these are going to be things that they remember when they're older.
Right.
And it really leads to good conversations between kids too. Because, we'll walk around the lunchroom and they'll be talking about something from Greek mythology. That because of, I think, the Olympics that we did, the excitement grows, and we just finished some writing around Greek mythology, right? Because they all wrote the Greek myth, and it was much more engaging than it probably would have been if we didn't have that leading into it. Yeah.
And teachers should also remember, just because things don't go as expected one year, you can always adapt and reflect. And that's what we do as educators.
Right.
So if you need to change something the following year, that's what we've done. And that's why we are where we are.
Right.
And if something doesn't go right, the kids probably aren't going to remember that. They're going to think they're just having
They
so
don't
much
know.
fun.
They don't know the difference. The
I
other
would say
thing,
they won't know what they missed out on if you don't do everything, right?
yes. And I think when we talk about what we're doing, it sounds like it's super time consuming, and it's really not. I mean, our celebration is like 45 minutes to an hour total.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of support, either parent volunteers or sometimes like the Lap and Title team will come support during the event. And it's just really worth that 45 minutes or an hour to bring the learning to life for the kids.
Thank you all for being here this morning. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your passion. And thanks for sharing the great things that you're doing at Firgrove.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for joining us for this inspiring conversation with the Firgrove second grade team. Their story is a powerful reminder that when we create opportunities for students to move, connect, collaborate, and shine in their own ways, learning becomes unforgettable. I loved hearing how they use celebrations to boost engagement, to strengthen belonging, and to help every student discover their strengths, whether academic, physical, social, or creative. And I hope their message encourages you to take risks, start small if you need to, and bring a little more joy into your next unit. Your students will remember it. As always, thank you for the incredible work you do every single day. Educators matter, and your impact lasts far beyond the school year. Did you enjoy this episode? Smash that 5-star button like a second grader launching a javelin. And follow TandL Talks on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or iHeartRadio. Every follow helps our TandL community grow.